Now we have one more conference to preview before we get to week one, and that is the SEC, some known as the best conference in college football. The Big Ten might have some feelings about that one, especially not they have the reigning defending champions in that conference in the Michigan Wolverines. But nevertheless, the SEC is where it's at, Southeastern Conference. As we all know, as we've been going through the conference realignment, OU and Texas has officially joined. So now you can add Oklahoma Sooners and the Texas Longhorns into a conference that's already filled with the Alabamas, the Arkansas, the Auburn's, the Floridas, the Georgias, Kentucky's, the LSU's, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, Alabama. Crimson Tide, your 2023 reigning SEC champions, they knocked off the Georgia Bulldogs in the ATL at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, in which the Georgia Bulldogs didn't make the college football playoffs. And doing so, they lost to the Michigan Wolverines in the semifinals over in the Rose Bowl with a very highly contested game in overtime, by the way. Overtime. Nick Saban retired. Former Washington head coach Kelly DeBoer is now filled in his shoes. We're going to see how he does, okay? Because that's some big shoes to fill. You were just at Washington. You were just part of a national championship contending team. Now you're going to Alabama. It's not easy to do. All right. The Georgia Bulldogs not only ranked number one in the AP polls, but they are the favorites to win the SEC, according to the SEC media poll. It's not surprising. OU and, as I said earlier, OU and Texas are part of it. Texas is picked second by the SEC media to win the SEC, and Oklahoma was picked eighth. The number one schedule in the land resides in the SEC, and it goes to none other than the Florida Gators. The number one toughest schedule in college football. Year 3 under Billy Napier. Is this a hot seat for old Billy Napier in year 3 down in Gainesville? Plus, they will pick 12th in the poll. Now, let's go to that. What is known as well, before we get there, let's go to the top 5. So your top 5 were Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and LSU. No real surprises there because Georgia, obviously, self-explanatory. Texas, we'll see. Alabama is Alabama. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin has a chance. And Brian Kelly and LSU are always around. Georgia, though, they open up against Clemson in the ATL in Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. They head to Kentucky 2 weeks from there. They go to Tuscaloosa September 28th, literally a month from today. Georgia at Alabama. Circle that game on your calendar. Then the oldest rivalry in the South renews themselves the following week on October 5th. They go to Austin, Texas, October 19th. Circle that game on your calendar. All right, then once you hit the month of November, it's the annual Florida-Georgia game right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Then the week after the Florida-Georgia game, they go to Oxford, Mississippi to take on Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. And then a week after that, they host the Tennessee Volunteers. And, of course, you know, the other original games that they have. But the key games for the Bulldogs, that's a lot of key games there. Clemson, at Kentucky, at Alabama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. Woo! That's them road games is some road games there. Them world games is tough. We're gonna see how Kirby Smart does with this Bulldog team at Kentucky, at Alabama, at Texas, at Ole Miss. You don't even know what kind of Florida team you're gonna get in Jacksonville. Okay, Auburn's always a big. They call it the oldest rivalry in the South, so that's a rivalry game by itself. The way Georgia Tech looked at the end of the year, what they did to reach 0 to Florida State, how they look. If they keep going like this, that game against Georgia Tech gonna be interesting at the end of the year. It's a lot going on. But that's Georgia. That's the number 1 team in the land. Let's go to the number 4 team in the land. And the second team in the pick of the SEC media, the Texas Longhorns, the newcomers, all right? Week 2, they head into the big house to take on the Michigan Wolverines. I can go ahead and tell you right now that's the game of the week for week 2. So when Sunday gets here and you see what we did, you'll know that game is the game of the week. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Their first SEC game is September 28th, a month from today, and is at home against Mississippi State. Okay. Even though there are no divisions in the SEC anymore, the Red River rivalry will not go away. It is part of the ACC now, and the Red River rivalry will take place on October 12th down in Dallas, Texas, at the Cotton Bowl. And obviously, October 19th is the game where they host Georgia. November 9th, they host the Florida Gators. They got key games at home. Key games at home. It's pretty much what is going on for Texas right now. They go to Arkansas November 16th, and they go to Texas A&M at Thanksgiving weekend. The old rivalry renews between the Longhorns and the Aggies. That should be a fun one to watch. But they go to Dallas with OU. They're hosting their first ever SEC game with Mississippi State. They host Georgia and they host Florida. So the world might be a little more easier for Texas than Georgia. Maybe. We're not sure yet, but maybe. Just on paper. So that's good. Let's head to Alabama, though. The reigning defending SEC champions. September 14th, they take the trip up north to Wisconsin. That's going to be interesting. A trip to Wisconsin. I have never seen. I don't remember the last time I can see Alabama on the road up north. So I'm looking forward to that one. They should beat Wisconsin, but I'm just going to be interesting to watch Alabama team playing in Wisconsin. This is going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting to see. All right. Of course, we talked about it when we talk about the Bulldogs. A month from now, Alabama's hosting Georgia. October 19th, they go to Tennessee. I'm looking forward to that. They host Missouri October 26th. And let's not sleep on Missouri. Missouri got a team. Missouri played some good football last year. I'm looking forward to doing it again. They bringing their quarterback, they running back, and their wide receiver back. So they should be ready to go. The annual LSU game, that game will be in Death Valley, November 9th. In Death Valley, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They go to Norman, Oklahoma, November 23rd. And then they host the Iron Bowl against the Auburn Tigers Thanksgiving weekend. As you can see, I just went through 3 teams. And all the key games don't even look like locks. None of them look like a lock. Except for maybe Wisconsin when it comes to Alabama. But good gracious, this is why the SEC. That's why people love the SEC. There's no cakewalk games in this conference. Let's go to Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin. People are looking at Lane Kiffin and say, Lane Kiffin, this might be your year, sir. You don't have to deal with Nick Saban no more. Texas and Oklahoma are new. Only team you probably can deal with is Georgia, and you face Georgia. But before we get there, let's begin at the beginning. September 14th, they go to Wake Forest. Okay. Depending on how Wake Forest looks, that could be a nice comfortable win for Ole Miss. A month from now, September 28th, they host Kentucky. They go to South Carolina in October 5th. They go to LSU on the 12th of October. Ugh. At least they hosting Oklahoma on the 26th of October. So they instead of them going to Norman got to come. The Sooners got to come to them to Oxford. That's a good one. They host Georgia November 9th. They come to Florida. They go to Gainesville November 23rd. And on a short week, by the way. That's a short week because 6 days later, it's the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State in Oxford. That is a short week. Hold on. They playing Florida on if they playing Florida on a Saturday, they playing the Egg Bowl on a Friday. Yep, that's a short week. Short week. See how that works out. And then we go to LSU. They opening up Sunday. They don't open up Saturday. They open up Sunday in Vegas against the USC Trojans. On the 14th of September, they go to South Carolina. The week after that, they host UCLA. That is crazy. LSU is playing both LA schools in a 3-week span. They got USC on the 1st. They got UCLA on the 21st. 20 days apart. 3-week span. Good gracious. They host Ole Miss on October 12th. They go to Arkansas October 19th. They go to Texas A&M October 26th. Obviously, they host Alabama on November 9th. They come to Gainesville November 16th. And they host Oklahoma November 30th. So Oklahoma has to go to Oxford in October. They got to go to Death Valley in November. That's crazy. So we're getting LSU and Oklahoma Thanksgiving weekend. I'm trying to watch that game. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm trying to watch that game. That should be a fun one. OU and LSU and Death Valley Thanksgiving weekend. That better be a primetime game. Because what game gonna rival that? Well, depending on how everything else fails. Out Michigan, Ohio State, probably. No, that's always at 12 though. Yeah, that's always at 12. So here we go. Now let's get to my Gators. What is deemed as the schedule of death, the number one ranked schedule in all of college football. We open up at home this Saturday against the Miami Hurricanes. Okay. Then we host Sanford. All right. Should be a dub right there. Then we host Texas A&M. We don't even know what Texas A&M going to look like. Yeah. We go to Starksville, Mississippi. We take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. We host the USC Knights. I don't know how I feel about that game because I went to UCF and I've always been a Gator fan. I'm going to be torn on that one. I'm going to be completely honest. That's in October. So I got a good month and some change to prepare for that. Then after we host the USC Knights, got to go to Rocky Top to take on the Tennessee Volunteers in Tennessee, which has not been good to us. Going to Tennessee has not been good to us lately. Then we come home to host the Kentucky Wildcats. Then after a bye week, then the annual Florida and Georgia game. Right here in Jacksonville, Florida, where I reside at. Then after that, November 9th, we're going to Austin, Texas to take on the Texas Longhorns. Before we come home and we host LSU, host Ole Miss, and then finish it off in Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. Oh my gosh. This is why it's called the schedule of death. Because once you get past Sanford, it's home to Texas A&M, at Mississippi State, home to UCF, at Tennessee, home to Kentucky, home in Jacksonville against Georgia, at Texas, home to LSU, home to Ole Miss, at Florida State. That's a 10-game death row right there. This is why we have the schedule of death. Now, if you want to sit here and say, well, we don't know nothing about Ole Miss, we don't know nothing about UCF, well, UCF would the Florida Gators ass in the bowl game last year. So, I mean, that's a rivalry building right there. And not only with the Gators, they trying to build rivalries with Florida State and Miami too, why they had it. Going to Tennessee, Gator fans know we don't do well in Tennessee. Kentucky has started to beat up on us now, so we get them at home. Florida and Georgia, there's nothing else to say to it. Oh, Lord have mercy. And this is Billy Napier's third year, and he might be on the hot seat this year with this type of schedule. This is the wrong time to be on the hot seat with this type of schedule. But the pressure is on Billy Napier. There's a lot of people who want to see Billy Napier do something. But man, the only sure game is September 7th. We'll be host Sanford. Miami, you don't know. And Miami is ranked 19th in the country. Texas A&M is ranked. Tennessee is ranked. Georgia is ranked number 1. Texas is ranked number 4. LSU is ranked 13. Ole Miss is ranked. And even though Florida State lost to Georgia Tech, they'll still be ranked somehow, some way. Ooh, Lord have mercy. Yeah. That's the SEC for you. And that's the schedule for the Florida Gators. That's the schedule of death. All right. Now, I know y'all want to know who I'm picking. I'm picking the Georgia Bulldogs. Like Coach Saban said on College Game Day last week, until somebody can show me that they can beat Georgia outside of Alabama, and Alabama don't have Nick Saban no more, so I don't know what Kellen DeBoer is going to look like. I got to roll with the Bulldogs, unfortunately. So